Hello everyone, this is John again, and we are returning to my Koine Greek tutoring lessons. In the last lesson, we covered part 1. And so, just to summarize what we covered, we went over what? English grammar rules. Okay? If you don't know English grammar rules, it'll be very difficult for you to understand ancient Greek grammar. Because in order to learn Greek, you got to know some grammar. And if you're going to learn some grammar, you got to first go back to English grammar rules as a regular English speaker. You got to know what nouns are, what adjectives are, what verbs are, what adverbs are, infinitive, subjects, objects. All these are very important because ancient Greek classes entail a lot of learning Greek grammar. So, in part 2, we went over a simple, smooth application of the rules of English grammar to ancient Greek. And we showed you how there's differences between English adjectives and Greek adjectives. And one of the things that I pointed out is that, for example, English adjectives do not have a gender, whereas Greeks do. Greek adjectives do. They have a male, female, and neuter. That goes for objects and subjects. And that also, I might point out too, that goes for both nouns and adjectives. So again, both Greek nouns and adjectives complement nouns, have genders, male, female, neuter. English adjectives don't. And a lot of Greek students stumble over that in the beginning, and that's something that you got to go over. These are just basic things you have to know, you have to go over. And we went over some other interesting things that are very important. And basically, you can go back in the lesson plan here and review that for yourself. But as you go along in your regular Greek classes, these things will become pretty evident. So now, in part 2, this is what we're going to be going over. We're going to be dealing specifically with subjects and objects of Greek sentences. How to find them, how to locate them in the sentence, because a lot of Greek students have problems with this, and this is something that some of my students that I tutor Greek with have a big problem with. Got to determine their cases, the cases of the subject and object, because the cases of the subject and objects, for the most part, most of the time, are different, and that's one of the ways you're going to be able to spot either or in a sentence, or both. Okay? And you got to know their numbers, their genders, and see how the objects and the subject relate to other parts of the speech in their respective grammatical frameworks. And then, of course, you're going to be able to make sense of Greek and figure out what it's really saying. And all of this is really key to understanding all of Greek. Focus on this here with me. So, part 2. Greek objects and subjects and their relation to Greek verbs, prepositions, and more. What is a Greek subject? It is a person doing the action in the Greek sentence, as we described, of course, in English. So, how do we find it? How do we find the Greek subject? What you do is you look for the noun, the sentence, and its respective active verb. So how do we spot them? Look for the noun that is in the nominative form. Focus on this here with me. Look for the noun that is in the nominative form or case. Because in that form or case, you can say, it will be associated with an active verb. Now, if you don't know at this point what an active verb is, go back to the English part 1 up here, where we went over English grammar rules, and learn. An active verb is a verb that does action, like walking, rowing, striking, eating. Those are actions, what I just described. They're verbs, but more specifically, they're active verbs. And they're doing an action upon an object. So here, remember, it's the subject that's doing the action. So for example, let's look at in a scriptural text, James chapter 2, verse 14. All right. So, though a man say he hath faith, and have not works, can faith save him? Right? Now, if you're reading this in English, can you find the subject of the sentence and the active verb that complements it, that goes along with it? Well, if you kind of look through here, let's see here. Though a man saith faith and have not works, can faith save him? Oh, the man. Okay, so the man's the main guy of the sentence. He's the subject, right? Well, how do you find that in Greek? All right, you got to look for its nominative case. Now, in English, cases really you don't have to deal with, but in Greek you do. So, let's go through this in Greek. Ean pistin lehi tis echin. Erga dhe mi echi. Mi dinate I pistis sose afton. So, if faith, he says a particular individual. Here it is right here. Tis. Which is a special type of a pronoun in Greek. That's the one that says a particular guy or man or woman or an individual or someone. That's what that means in Greek. And here it's in its nominative form. But if this was in a different form or case, for example, accusative, it'd have a different form. But because it's a nominative, this is a huge indication that it's the subject, and it's going to be, of course, doing the action. Okay? What would its action be? Well, let's go back to English. Though a man say he hath faith. Okay, having is an action. See that? Having, hath. That's more like King James English, but it's okay. Hath. Okay? All right? So, or to have in other translations. So in Greek, that is going to be, of course, this hath is going to be associated with the man. Okay? And also, of course, the he here, which is a personal pronoun. Okay? The man is the he, and he hath something. You got to find that in Greek. So, we already found here the subject in the nominative case. Focus on that. Okay. Echin, here it is. Here's the verb that you have. But, in this case, it's in an infinitive, as indicated by the epsilon iota ni ending. And a quick note about the infinitive is that this is the doing in Greek. Okay? Or the to do something. For example, let's take this sentence again. Though a man say he hath faith. Now that's King James, all right? But if you want to break it down more simple and more modern English, if a man claims to have faith, so that would be to have. So this is what this means in Greek. The infinitive form of the verb, which is what this is the to do something, or the ing something, okay? To be having something, to be doing something. This is here. This is a special type of a verb, and this infinitive, special type of a form of verb, and this infinitive does not take on other persons. First person, second person, singular or plural. It stays the same. The only way you'd be able to find out how this infinitive is associated with a particular person is know who the subject is. And again, the subject here is a man. The tis here. Okay? So, this is very important. This is very key. And we'll go on this in subsequent lessons. We'll go over that in further lessons down the road. So, right here and there, we just found who the subject is. We also found his action here. All right? The echin, the hath part. Okay? First, look at the English again. And go over this here with me. Though a man say he hath faith and have not works, can faith save him? So you stop there from the English grammar lesson above. What can you tell me who's the subject? The man, okay? Why? Because he's the one who's supposed to have faith. And having is an action. Active verb, like we said before. This is a verb that's doing an action. Okay, now, and faith is the object, which is the thing receiving the action from the subject. Now, if you don't know what the object is yet, go back to our English lessons in part 1. Know what that is. An object is a person or a thing in a sentence that's receiving action from an active verb that belongs to the subject. So, let's go over our text here. Okay. Ean pistin legitis echin. Now, if you don't understand it yet in Greek, let's go over it in English. Though a man say he hath faith. Oh, he hath faith. He has faith. He's having faith. Claims to have faith. Faith right then and there is what? It is the object. Why? Because it's associated with the verb that's active. And this again belongs to the he, the man. Now, in Greek, ean, though, or if, pistin lehi, faith, he says, a man to have. Notice the syntax here with me. Okay, right away we see it's pistin. Okay, that is the object. Now the point of this lesson, though, is how do you spot it? First, note this down. Either for subject or an object. Look at what case it's in, what form it's in, what the case is. We already established what the case is for the subject. It's tis. He's the subject. We know that. So, because faith here has been established as the object, all right, we also, of course, need to understand why it was established as the object. Because, again, of its case. Okay, what's its case? Well, the beauty of biblos.com, and we're going to go over this repeatedly so you really get this ingrained here, BibleHub.com. It used to be BIBLOS.com, but now it's BibleHub, one word, BIBLEHUB.com. Is that if you go over a Greek text, okay, this is it right here, note that for yourself, and you hover over a word, all right, when it's highlighted blue like this, there's a hyperlink. And in this case, pistin, it's going to tell you all the grammatical details of it, what case it's in, what number it's in, everything. So therefore, you can hover over each word and basically note what the grammatical elements of each word, and then thus be able to translate it by yourself. Now, if you want to cheat, of course, you have the King James underneath there to help you do it, but it's all there for you, okay? Subjects and objects. We just found the object. The object, okay, let's go back to its case. Okay, the object, we need to determine it. How do you determine it? Again, its case. Here, it's in the accusative case. Why is that? It's because action was put upon it. Therefore, its ending must change into the accusative. And we already established, and we see that here with the ni ending. Usually the ending is sigma, but here we have a ni ending, pistin. Usually it's pistis, but now it's pistin. Boom, that's how you find the object in Greek. Okay. So you discover the subject in English, but what about in Greek? So again, go over it. Ian pistin legi tis echin erga dhe mi echi. Okay? Mi dinate I pistis sose afton. At this point, if you have not learned, if you have not yet begun to spot nouns and adjectives, which again happen to be subjects here, in their nominative form, go back and learn them all, or else you will never understand Greek. Now, why did I just say that? Because the number one thing you need to learn here is the nominative form of a noun, and also of an adjective which complements a noun. because that's the way you're going to find it in its dictionary form. Okay? When you look up an adjective or a noun in the dictionary, they will be in its nominative form, its lexical form, or nominative case. Okay? When I say form, I also mean case. That's how you're going to find it. If you look up an adjective, you're going to find it in its nominative form and in the male gender, always. So if it's the adjective we used earlier in lesson 1, agathos, okay, you're going to find that just the way it is in its lexical form, agathos. You're not going to find it in the female gender, though, or in the neuter gender. You're going to find it in the male. So this is the first thing to learn when dealing with adjectives and nouns. Look up their definition. That's it. Okay. See what case they're in, what the form is. Okay? Well, it's going to be what? The nominative. All right? Before it does anything. Also note that 95% of the time when you're dealing with a subject in Greek, it's going to be in its nominative case. This is the ABCs of Greek. Learning how to say, read, and spell a word in its nominative form. That's it. Once you learn the nominative form, you can go into other cases of the Greek nouns and adjectives. All right? Then we get more deeper into Greek. Note, if you want to shortcut the process, go to a good Bible website that has the Old and New Testament Greek and that does all the work for you in the way of conjugating the verbs for you, figuring out all cases, numbers, etc. of the nouns, adjectives for you, and so on and so forth. I recommend, again, using BibleSuite.com. And it's here, which we went over. It's actually Bible Hub, but in some instances, somehow the URL changes and it goes to Bible Suite. So just note Bible Hub, or I think if you even type in Bible Suite, it will also give you the same website. Let's see that here. Yeah, it's the same website. I believe what this is its mobile phone app. This is its mobile phone app version. Regardless, it's the same website. So this is condensed. Looks like it's mobile phone version for the mobile phone app, this Bible Suite. But the main website here is Bible Hub. And like I said before, it used to be BIBLOS.com. Anyway, what you do, again, hover over each word. Now, look at this case here. All right, in our text that we're dealing with. Okay, we're just hovering over the word lehi, which means to say. Here, it's in its third person singular form, and it's in its subjunctive. Okay, so if you haven't gone over what the subjunctive case is yet, we're going to go over that. Okay, so it is to say it's in its present active subjunctive. Okay, it's in its present tense. Okay, active meaning it's ongoing, and the subjunctive, which means it's conditional. It's based on a condition. So you hover over this. Okay, you want to conjugate this verb. You want to get the grammatical details. It's all here, right here. Present active subjunctive, third person singular. Boom, you just translated it. Okay, so let's continue with the lesson. So look at the sentence above in Greek that we are dealing with. Okay? Find the subject here in Greek. If you need to use BibleSuite.com or Bible Hub, please use it by scrolling over the words and find man, which is what we did above here. Here it is here, tis. This is the same text we went over here. Okay. Find the subject here in Greek. All right. So, find the word man, because remember, we already found it in English. All right, we already found the English, so we found it in Greek. It's tis, which again means someone, anyone, or a man. This word also happens to be an indefinite pronoun. Okay, so we're getting more grammar specific here. It's an indefinite pronoun, which is just another form of a noun which describes certain unknown individual or simply just someone. This word is in its nominative form because this man, tis in the Greek, is the one who is supposed to have the action verb associated with him. Supposed to have action verb, okay? And he's the one who's supposed to have, okay, action verb, the faith, okay? Which is, of course, the object because having faith puts action on the faith. Note that. Having something puts object or puts action on the thing that you're having. In this case, it's faith. So, for visual aid below, this is something I put together. The subject here is making the action. The man, in Greek, tis. This is the action here in progress that you're looking at. The object is struck by the action of the subject and thus is affected by it. Faith is affected, okay? This is expressed here in its form or its case, which is what I told you above in the accusative. This is not in its nominal form, it's in the accusative. That's how you recognize it is the subject. Pistin, not pistis, with a sigma at the end. This is Greek in action. So, take for example, all right, the subject here is the train, okay? It's moving along the tracks, and all of a sudden this object, this car, all right, gets struck by it because it's, I guess, stuck on the tracks, right? All right, so boom, it hits it, all right? This here is the man in our sentence, okay? This here is faith. Faith goes from being a normal looking car to one that is impacted, note that word, affected, changed, or here, smashed up. The result is that the object, again, pistin, faith, is altered. Okay? The subject is the train, the one doing the action. The object is the car. Now, the point of impact here, look at this with me, is the action the subject put on the object. That's the point of impact here. See that? The point of impact is the action of the subject that is put on the object. This here is expressed, okay, with the verb to have. Echin. Okay? When this train, and we use this expression in English, is having this car, or is having this car for lunch, let's say. All right? He's taking him to task. He's having him for lunch. All right, so this train, which is the man in our sentence, the tis, all right? He's having echin, this car, right? Which is pistin, all right? So the way this car is altered, okay, from a normal looking car to one that's altered, is this is the type of image that I want you to have in your mind about pistin. Because pistin before used to be pistis with the sigma at the end, but now it's pistin, it's altered. Well, this car used to be normal looking, well now it's altered. See that? So this is a visual aid to help you understand how Greek works. The train though, okay, he's so powerful, right? He gets off without a scratch. He's just full, solid still. He smashes up this cheaply made car, but the train doesn't really suffer anything. He's the same. See that? And the fact and how this train remains the same, okay, I want you to now take this concept and apply it to the object, who's the man. He stays the same. He's in the nominative case, the normal case. All right? He's not in any other case. Now, if a noun is going to other cases, that means, again, number one, it's an object. Okay? Note that. For the most part, most of the time, it's going to be an object. All right? It's being altered. Okay? Note that. Look at the image again. In your mind, associate the train with the man, tis, and the car being struck, okay, with faith, pistin. The subject is not being hit, as is also not being altered. This is not being altered, but this car is. This train is so powerful it could smash up this car and nothing will happen to it, right? Get this image in your mind with Greek. Now think of the Greek subject, same thing. The object is struck and is altered, as you can see in the image. Now think of the Greek object, same thing. Pistis now becomes pistin with a ni. Pistis becomes pistin. Notice the endings of the two form here. See? Pistis, okay, is now in the accusative form or case, pistin. It's the same word, but just in a different case. Okay? And we will cover this in our material. This is the same car, but it's in a different form now. It's in a smashed up form. Okay, it's smashed up. This is what makes Greek so distinct, exact, and precise in comparison to English and other languages. Plain and simple. So, keep this kind of image in your mind when you deal with Greek, because it is very objectively, visually, and spatially oriented when you process it in your mind. This will help you. Now, let's show how the subject uses an action verb to put action on objects. Let's get more specific on this case, on this situation. B, the subject uses two kinds of active verbs that can put action on an object. Two kinds of verbs, for the most part. Active and middle. If you don't know what the differences are, okay, let's do a quick review. Number one, active verbs. They are verbs that perform a simple action on the object, affecting it, and its outcome within the sentence. In Greek, these will be the verbs that have the ending with omega, okay, in the first person singular, okay, meaning the I am doing something. I go, or I do this, or I do that. It's always in the I, first person singular, okay? That's how you're going to find the verb you're looking for, particularly when you look it up in a dictionary. Okay, you want to find a verb, you're going to find it in the first person singular, meaning the I, okay? And it's going to end with omega, all right? So when we refer to a verb's original form, we always go back to its textbook or lexical form, or simply how you find it in the dictionary, which shows that, again, it's in the present tense, first person singular. That's how you look up a verb, and it's present tense, first person singular, or that's how you're going to find it. So look for it to appear that way. The Greek accent can fall on either the last, second to last, or third to last syllable, which is a vowel. Here is an example below as we continue with James 2:14. Okay? Now, look at the Greek and English here with me. In English, as we continue with this verse, type this here, typo. Okay, it states, he hath faith, okay, and have not works, right? Let's focus on this part here. Though a man say he hath faith and have not works, okay, and have not works, he hath faith and have not works, the hath and have are two forms here, infinitive and subjunctive, which we're going to cover later, okay? So that's how it is in Greek, okay? So here it is right here, infinitive form and continual subjunctive form. It's the same verb. It comes from echo. You want to look this up? You're going to find it as echo. So look up have in your Greek dictionary. You're going to find it as echo, present tense, first person singular. These are just two forms of it. okay? Infinitive, which is here, and subjunctive, continual, which we'll cover later. All right, so two forms of the same verb, to have, which in Greek is echo. This is an active verb because the verb to have is again an action. All right, and thus puts action on the objects in this first clause of verse 14 of James 2, faith and works. It's putting action on faith and works. Okay, so look at it here in English. Though a man say he hath faith and have not works. See that? Hath and have, same verb, okay? Now, faith is here, associated with hath. Works is here, associated with have, okay? This is an object. This is an object. Works are an object. Faith is an object. Note that, okay? Echin erga the, however, in Greek, let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry here. Let's go from the beginning. Ean pistin, here's our object here, right? Here it's faith. Lehi, he says. Tis, a man. Echin, to have. Okay, see that right there? Now, here it is in English. Okay, hath, faith. Now the syntax is different, and we're going to go over the syntax. It's very simple. Okay, so hath faith, right? Pistin echin, and have not works. Okay. Erga, works. Here's the works part. Them mean echin, not having. See that? So erga, okay, is being associated with this verb here, echo, okay, which is echi here. It's in a different form, but it's the same verb. This is, of course, the third person singular subjunctive, okay? Present tense. Third person, present tense, third person, singular, subjunctive. That's what this is. This is associated with this. Ehi, erga. Okay? Okay, have, not, works. The not here is me. So, works here is also what? An object. Therefore, it's going to be in what case? Okay, what case? In this situation, it's going to be in the accusative case. Now, note this. Different types of verbs impact different types of objects in different cases or via different cases. So in other words, not every object is going to have the same case. Okay, it's not always going to have the accusative case. It may have the genitive case or the dative case, and we'll go over that. So note that. We just happen to be dealing with a verb, okay, echo, and here it is echin, and here it is expresses echin and echin, which when dealing with an object, it puts it in the accusative. Erga is an accusative, pistin is in the accusative, okay? So, remember that our subject is the mantis who is performing the action of having on the object. Faith, pistin, okay? And we also, of course, went over erga. So, number 2, second type of verb. So our first verb is the active verb, okay, the one that's performing a simple action on the object, affecting it and its outcome within the sentence, okay? And what is the affecting part? Again, it's being put in a different case. That's it. It's going from the nominative, pistin, okay? Pistis went from, this verb pistis went from pistis to pistin, okay? I'm sorry, this object, this noun went from pistis to pistin. Here, erga went from erga to erga. It stays the same, okay? So from, in other words, from the nominative to the accusative, it stays the same. Okay, so this is the point here with active verbs. Note all this. Study this very carefully here. Okay, different. This our second type of verb. There's also the middle or deponent type of verbs that also do action like the active verbs, but more specifically, they do it for themselves, for a specific purpose. Most of them have the ome ending, omicron mi alpha iota ending. Okay, not the omega ending, okay, which was what we described here with active verbs, but the ome ending. This is how you're going to find it, okay, in its first person, in its present first person form in the dictionary when you're looking it up. So when you're looking up this type of verb, okay, again, it's going to be in its present tense, first person singular form. Deponent. This is what a deponent is. All right? It's like an active verb. It does the same thing, but it more specifically for itself. Actually, for a particular purpose for itself. Most of them have an ome ending, which again, we list in the present tense, first person singular, when we look it up in a dictionary, just like we do for active verbs. It's lexical form. They have the same endings in most of the tenses. Note this. In most of the tenses, not all. Okay? Just like passive verbs do. So in other words, a middle verb, when you look it up, okay, it's going to look in form just like a passive. Okay? And we're going to cover later what passive verbs are. But basically, in a nutshell, what a passive verb is, it means that an action is being carried out upon the object, and it's going to be expressed in verb form. So in other words, instead of me doing the action's now occurring to me. Okay? So if I use the verb, for example, plito, which means I strike. Plito, right? Notice the omicron ending. Okay? Now, if it's going to be passive, I'm going to say plito me. I am being struck. Okay, we'll go over what passive verbs are. But note here again, we're dealing with two verbs, active and middle. So, we must do a quick review on middle deponent Greek verbs because they are more complex than regular active ones. Okay? And we're going to go over this in our next lesson. And it's very, very simple and very easy. And you're going to enjoy it. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next lesson.